Sonic Universe Issue 30. We start out with Scourge being pushed around, and he thinks that he doesn't care how lame the Destructives might be if they can get him out of the prison. I really wish we got a clear answer on why he thinks they're lame. The only thing lame about them is that they're all generic thugs with nothing interesting about their personalities whatsoever. It's not like he thinks he's a better person than them, he's more justified in his actions, right? Some zone cops come in to stop the bullying. Oh, so they do that occasionally. Perfect representation of the competence of the zone cops. Though at least in this case, Zobotnik is letting Scourge suffer intentionally. Cal says that the day will only be saved until the guards start to beat Scourge. Then Scourge is told that the warden wants to see him. Why is the warden saying he's on his way to being reformed, when if anything, suffering just makes people resentful and want to lash out a lot more? I hate hypocrites, he should just be honest that he's evil already. Also, why is Scourge not properly oriented here? The entirety of the prison is in the parallel zone, so why is it here that the orientation stuff doesn't work? Zobotnik shows them footage of when the Destructives were arrested. So do zone cops always have hidden invisible flying cameras recording the exact moment of arrest? Sonic seems to assume that they're agents of Eggman Nega just because they're zone hopping. Sergeant Simeon threw a squad car as Fiona was saying that they don't go in quietly. Scourge smirks, proud of her, sadistically enjoying the sight, and Zobotnik arbitrarily insists these guys are monsters that are too hardcore for him to handle, and thinks that they'll break him worse than he ever imagined. Having tricked Zobotnik into thinking he'll come to him for protection, and his spirit is broken, he marches out of there with a confident strut, and Fiona says that this is what she loves about Scourge, saying with a genuine smile that he's amazing in action. Fiona wastes our time recapping her backstory to the woman who doubts Scourge, and says as we see her in the cold rain that she never found her family and they must have moved on without her. We see her taking a jewel as Bean and Bark distract a museum guard, and her narration says that using other people became second nature, and after that, the world's her oyster. She says that she always has a way out, as Anti-Jeffrey listens in. In the exercise yard, why do they give criminals like this access to this stuff? Why? Do they want the criminals to be strong enough to beat up the guards? Well, at least it's justified here, as the warden wanting them to be strong so they can beat each other up better. But when you're trying to keep people under control, this seems extremely counterintuitive. I mean, you have control collars, but they still get more muscles. Scourge says to Sergeant Simeon that he can spot him, and he's just trying to make up for what he said yesterday, saying look at the start of it to try to act casual about an apology. He reluctantly admits that now he is worth his time, being frustrated about it and asking what he wants from him. I love this. This is so him. This is so how he'd apologize. Sergeant Simeon finally explains his backstory. He says that years ago, when Robotnik's forces first began to spread, he wanted to take action. He said to his grandpa that those robots took a shot at him, so they had to strike back, even if it's an act of war. Besides, they started it. If anything, the robots are the ones who made an act of war. The grandpa arrogantly insists that the Great Jungle is too massive for the robots to find them, while looking like a human rather than an ape of any kind. Sergeant Simeon had taken matters into his own hands, getting some stolen ammo and guns from someone who wants to destroy Eggman's base at the edge of the jungle. Unfortunately, the grandpa acts all condescending, self-righteous of him, telling him to abandon their peaceful ways and have a blast. So this must take place before all the apes realize how stupid they were to be peaceful hippies not defending themselves. He insists that he's not dragging his people or his family into the war with him, so he went to wage a war on his own. I think I get the point of the story by now. Oh wait, never mind. Because he says he was glorious in the fight. Then after he throws a grenade, he randomly wakes up in front of Mammoth Mogul out of nowhere, who congratulates him on his talent and explains that the reason he's not dead or even hurt is because his power protected him, and can make him even stronger if he serves him loyally. Good thing that Mogul happened to witness him doing what he was doing, because he happened to be there at the exact time. I don't blame him one bit for agreeing. He wants to crush Robotnik after all. He's doing it for the greater good, really. He served Mogul for a long time, even if he didn't understand his plans, and he learned the power of strong teammates as a result. Then, with his permission, he returned home. I'm willing to bet he didn't receive a warm welcome, even though they really should be admiring him for fighting Robotnik so well. Oh, never mind. They're all really happy to see him now. But I assume it's his grandpa admits that he was right all along, and he begs him to lead them as a sergeant. Of course, he says that while he has earned this for all he's done, they haven't earned him. It's annoying that he doesn't make it more clear why he's saying this. It could be mistaken for mere arrogance. He should have said that they rejected him earlier, so they don't deserve such easy forgiveness now. Surprisingly, Scourge of all people says that's harsh, as if he thinks that's a bad thing. I guess he would have done things differently in the face of being liked by all those people. He finally asks what's that got to do with him, and Simeon says that he asked what he wanted from him, and he wants to work with the strongest, so he has to show him his strength. Except he's wearing a control collar, so that might be difficult. Scourge says that he wants them out of here, and then they'll go straight through anyone in their way. And Simeon just agrees, just like that, with power words. Even though he was implied that he wanted to see Scourge attack and fight a lot to prove his strength, when that'd be pointless since he has a control collar. Scourge gets Predator Hawk's attention by bouncing a basketball on what he's sitting on and calling him Gargoyle casually. Maybe his lack of social skills is why his friends stopped liking him, because he's trying to get his support, not his hatred. Predator, rather than punching him in the face, says that since Simeon didn't crush him, he'll listen to him. And Scourge is awkward to start at first before asking him what he wants from him. I see this is just a thin-veiled excuse by the writers to get the Destructix members' backstories. That doesn't change the fact that they're all generic thugs with the same personalities. Predator says that what he's always wanted is purpose and challenge, and years ago he thought he'd found it in the Battlebird Armada, and while they had rules and limits, he met them and exceeded them, and made himself the best, being promoted. He thought it would bring new challenges and new purposes, but to his disappointment, all he found were more rules and restrictions, and no future, as power, purpose, and freedom were all given to the heir. He eventually snapped and attacked the leader's son, calling him weak and his prey, and he was told that he'd clip his wings for starters for that. Back then, he hunted the Babylon rogues, but later, the rogues freed him. They must have seen a kindred spirit in him from a similar background. They promised him new challenges in hunting, and he thought life on the run was better. Sometimes they wasted time hunting their armada, I guess for revenge, but mostly they hunted for treasure. Unfortunately, he wasn't satisfied with this either because he thought of Jet as another weak leader who hadn't earned his place. Jet tries to sell someone an artifact for a huge price, saying that's got magical powers or something, and Mammoth Mogul says that he'll only pay the price if Predator Hawk comes with him, calling him a brilliant living weapon. Except Predator doesn't have any strong magical powers, unless flying like a bird is supposed to do counts. So I'm deciding that he has potential. It's extremely arbitrary. Also, what's arbitrary is him bothering to pay the price at all instead of using his magic, and just not having to pay the price. Somehow he already knew that Predator hunts the living, not gems, and so he recruits him. Mogul gave him purpose in challenging enemies, and he tells Scourge that he wants him to challenge him and give him prey and give him respect. Scourge says that if he can keep up, he'll let him take out a few guys for him, while gutsily taking the basketball right out of his hands. An announcement tells the inmates to get dinner, and Scourge is warned that if he's disappointed, he'll go after him instead, and Scourge is confident enough not to worry. Scourge is in a good enough mood not to lash out at Al and Cal going to talk to him like friends, and simply says that he was scheduling times to get beat up as he needs time to heal in between. So he's not going to tell them the truth, I guess because he doesn't want to be around them embarrassing him. Smalls tells him on top of the bunker bed that he stole 5 trays of beans at dinner, and the zone cops didn't do anything to stop it apparently. And Scourge says gutsily that it won't make a difference for him, before being smart and saying never mind afterwards. Wait, so he still hasn't won over all the Destructix yet? All he has to do is have a single conversation with just 2 more of them. Did he have that little time left in the day? Either way, the story ends with him saying that he just has 2 more of them to win over, calling them morons in his head. Again, why does he think they're morons? Because they're thugs wasting their lives instead of fighting Eggman? So is he. This issue is by Ian Flynn, and involves Scourge convincing Predator Hawk and Sergeant Simeon to work for him if he can give them what they want. A strong leader who will give them challenging enemies to fight. What's great about this story is that it bothers to explain their backstories, finally. Sergeant Simeon was driven away by his people because he wanted to fight Robotnik, God forbid. By the time he got back, he was in no mood to forgive them, which makes me wonder why he bothered coming back if he didn't miss them at all. Did he want to brag? And Predator hated rules and the weak leaders that didn't earn the position, which makes sense. And Mogul saw potential in him. But unlike with Simeon, who at least had a lot of weapons to use, it makes absolutely no sense for Mogul to see him as a living weapon. It's also arbitrary that it took the entire day for Scourge to have a single conversation with just 2 people, when I'd expect him to have recruited all of them by the end of the day.